Hi, Kay. Nice to have you here. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm very good. Thank you very much. You're all the way from the US, right?
Absolutely. Yes, it's 9:15 in the morning for me.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. I've also had conversations with people from across the globe that have some challenging time differences. But this is okay for you. I'm glad that this is just a normal time to have a conversation with you, of course. Let's kick off first, Kay, because we had a pre-discussion before, and you said, well, I would rather talk about responsible AI instead of ethical AI. So, well, basically, we can rephrase the title of this session, right? Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Yeah, absolutely. As you had on your little introduction of me, I was the world's first chief AI ethics officer. And that was back in 2014, before when people thought I was completely mad to be talking about this stuff. And gradually there became more and more of us, but a lot of us were not ethicists. So I'm a lawyer by background, and we came from government and business, and we were not ethicists, but we were calling it ethics. And it gradually became obvious that the way that ethicists think about AI ethics was actually different from the way that we were thinking about it, because we were thinking about it with a more sort of, dare I say, practical lens of what businesses should be doing, what laws should be passed by governments. And we also were getting pushback, and I think rightly so, because many companies, as you were saying in your introduction, are multinationals. So, whose ethics were we talking about? And back in 2015, about 10 or 12 of us started the IEEE ethically aligned design work, which has now created standards around AI. But we started finding that, we had to have a segment on classical ethics and a segment on Eastern ethics and a segment on all these different types of ethics. And what we found when we looked at the principles that were being produced around the world on AI was that they all sort of agreed, wherever you were in the world, you agreed on several things like explainability and accountability and not having bias and continuing to have human agency. And so it seemed that the better conversation was around responsible AI. How did we deploy systems that were explainable, accountable, trustworthy, etc.? And that's how you get the move to responsible or trustworthy AI.
Yeah. So it's more a broader, common interpretation of how to use AI, using responsible instead of ethical, because there are too many differences across the globe when you have an, let's say, a discussion on the definition of what's the right ethics, right? So you rather
Yeah.
could speak about responsible. The first question already comes in, and we agreed that we just blend in every question that comes in and trying to answer them as many as possible. Stuart, thank you, Stuart, for your question. And also to all of you, please join us in this conversation by asking your questions as well. Stuart also has a nice kickoff of this conversation, Kay. He said, well, ethics in AI is a complete fallacy. If the bad guys aren't going to be bound via ethics, and they won't, then surely we're bound to be behind. In other words, we could talk about ethics, responsible, whatever. In the end, it's a matter of good and bad, and the bad will, well, not take into account any responsible use of AI. Just to
Yeah. And
have a startup of this conversation, right?
well, we could say that about anything, couldn't we? We could say that speed limits, what's the point of having speed limits? Because the bad people always break the speed limits, and the rest of us sort of keep there or thereabouts around the speed limits. And that saves a lot of lives because we are dutiful and lawful. Simply to say, well, we don't need ethics around, we don't need anything around AI because the bad fix will always be doing bad things, is effectively to throw the rule of law out of the window. And I'm not sure in any civilized society we actually want that to happen.
No, true. Let's get back to the main question of today. It is about alignment, either an ethical or responsible. It is about alignment in between different countries, different stakeholders, but also within organization and cross-functional teams, of course. I would like to kick this off with the question to you. What is your experience and what would be your advice with regard to how to integrate this?